Thousands of temples were razed to ground during invasion. Some very iconic places, I think for once we should sit down and say, okay, these 2-3 sites, let's settle this.
And how does a place become a tower of light? In the Sanatana Dharma, we created instruments through which you could touch even ordinary people who are not steeped in spiritual sadhana. They can also have an opportunity to transcend and transform. When Athens was not even thought of, Kashi was. When Rome did not even exist in people's minds, Kashi was. When Egypt did not exist, Kashi was. And when we say Kashi, it's a tower of light. What is the significance of a tower of light? And how does a place become a tower of light? We must understand Kashi as a mechanism. I'm using the word mechanism very consciously because it was built as a yantra with 72,000 shrines and 108 main temples, 54 of them for Shiva and 54 for Shakti, giving equal significance to masculine and feminine and forming a body. It's like a living body. Why 72,000 shrines is, there are 72,000 prana nadis in the body, so it's a mega human being sitting there. And the idea is to connect the micro and the macro, or the individual and the universal. So this is an instrument to transform and transcend a human being to areas and spaces that individual human beings by themselves may not be able to do. Not everybody is steeped in spiritual practices. How do they find expression to their longing? Because there is no human being in the world who doesn't have a longing to touch aspects and dimensions of life which are not yet in their life. Everybody wants to. Some people may invest their time and energies to do that consciously, others here and there aspire for it. Maybe instead of genuinely seeking within themselves, they will have a drink or they will drug or they'll do something. But you must understand, all these are aspirations to touch something of the beyond. So here, we in this culture, in this Sanatana Dharma, we created instruments through which you could touch even ordinary people who are not steeped in spiritual sadhana. They can also have an opportunity to transcend and transform their way of being. If not in their early life, at least towards the end of their life, they must go to Kashi to do this. There have been many attempts like this in the country, there are many places like this, but Kashi is a very, very daring project. A few thousand years ago, the size and the complexity and the sophistication of what it is truly incredible. And unfortunately today a lot of it is lost, but this is phenomenal that once again some revival has happened.
Thousands of temples were razed to ground during invasions. Well, we couldn't protect them then. Now, talking about all those thousands of temples doesn't make sense, because you cannot rewrite history in that sense. But at the same time, very iconic places. I think the communities should sit down together and work this out. This is not for the benefit of the nation, that everything we fight, whatever you say I will oppose, whatever I say you will oppose. This is not the way forward. Some very iconic places, I think for once we should sit down and say, okay, these 2-3 sites, let's settle this. I think we should stop thinking in terms of Hindu community and Muslim community. Right now, India is at a juncture where if we do the right things, we could be a significant nation in the world in terms of economy, in terms of political power, in every way. Nation could become a very significant force in the world. I don't think we should squander this, going on making everything into a big dispute. There is no dispute that cannot be settled.
Kashi, the oldest city, older than we can even think or imagine of. And Kashi Viswanath temple, the only temple in which Nandi faces Gyanvapi mosque. Nandi, the great follower and devotee of Shiva, not facing the Garbhagriha or where the shivlinga is kept. Isn't that weird? So let's see what happened to Kashi Vishwanath temple. Originally, was there any temple or a mosque? But before moving to demolition of Kashi, let's first see how did it originated. There are 18 Puranas associated with various mythological occurrences. Out of these 18 Puranas, one of the Puran is Skanda Puran, which is the largest and the oldest. In Skanda Puran, there are 7 khandas, and out of which one of the khanda is Kashi Khanda, which give detailed study of Kashi and its importance. Skand is the another name of Lord Kartikeya, who is the son of Shiva, who is also prayed as Murugan in southern India. As per Kashi Khanda, there are 1099 temples, out of which 513 were specifically devoted to worship Shiva. The scripture states that the Vishwanath temple was formerly known as Moksha Lakshmi Vilas. The temple housed a total of 5 mandapas. The lingam of Vishwanath was situated in the Garbhagriha, presently where Nandi is facing. The remaining 4 mandapas included the Jnana Mandapa located in the east, Ranga Mandapa located in the west, Aishwarya Mandapa found in the north, and also Mukti Mandapa located in the south. But apart from mythological evidence, let's see other evidences Kashi Vishwanath existed even before we think. Mark Twain, the father of American literature, describes Kashi as Benares is the older than history, older than tradition, older even than the legend, and looks twice as old as all of them put together. These are the quotes of Mark Twain himself. Not only this, the famous Chinese traveler Huinsang, who visited Kashi in the 7th century, described it as the capital Varanasi is densely populated, the families are very rich, the disposition of the people is soft and humane, and they are earnestly given to study. Huinsang also describes the grandeur of the Kashi Vishwanath temple in his memoirs. But now, the Muslim conquest of Sindh in the early 8th century by Muhammad ibn Qasim was the beginning of the dark era of this culture of Indian subcontinent. In the years to come, the holy city of Kashi and Kashi Vishwanath temple was razed 3 times. The first attack on Kashi took place at the end of 12th century. In 1194 CE, Qutbuddin Aibak, who was later known as the first Sultan of Delhi, defeated Jaichand and captured the region of Kannauj. Now during these raids, the army of Ghazi ransacked the holy city of Kashi. Numerous temples were razed and mosques were created. The Kashi Vishwanath temple was replaced earlier by the Razia mosque. The details of this can be found in contemporary historian Hasan Nizami's Taj-ul-Masir. The English translation of the original Persian text can also be read in The History of India as told by its own historian Volume 2 by Henry Elliot and John Dawson. By the end of 13th century, during Shamuddin's Iltutmish reign, attack on Kashi became a bit low. So a trader is said to have built the temple in the compound of Avimukteshwara away from the main site during the reign of Delhi Sultan's Iltutmish. But it was again not safe. The second attack took place during the reign of Lodhi dynasty. In 1490 CE, Sikandar Lodhi demolished several sacred temples of Kashi. The Kashi Vishwanath temple, which was built in the compound of Avimukteshwara, was razed once again and a mosque was erected at that place. Now during Mughal Emperor Akbar's reign, Raghunath Pandit, popularly known as Todar Mal, the finance minister of the Mughal Empire, played an instrumental role in rebuilding Kashi Vishwanath temple. From here, the relationship between Kashi Vishweshwara and Maharashtra took place. In 1585 CE, Jagat Guru Narayan Bhatt, a renowned Pandit who hailed from Pathan, Maharashtra, was responsible for getting Kashi Vishwanath temple rebuilt. He also devised a special prayoga for renovating a Shivalinga, that is Shivalinga Pratishtha, in this new temple. The temple of Lord Vishweshwara, erected by Narayan Bhatt under the patronage of Todar Mal, finds mention in the Travels of Peter Mundy in Europe and Asia 1608 to 1667. Peter Mundy was the 17th century British factor who arrived in Kashi on 4th September 1632. Mundy saw various temples in Kashi, and in his memoirs he writes, "The chiefest is the Kashi Besua, known as Visvesara at Kashi, being of Mahadev. I went to it where in the middle, on a place elevated, is a stone that forms like Hotter's block plane, and under it is put the figure. in which they resort pour water of rivers, flowers, rice, butter, which here is most commonly liquid. Whilst the Brahmin read or says something, over it hangs a canopy of silk and about it several lamps lighted. But now, once again, Kashi was not safe. The third and final attack of Kashi Vishwanath temple took place in 1669 CE by Aurangzeb. Saki Mustad Khan, a contemporary to Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, writes in Masire-e-Alamgiri, a history of Emperor Aurangzeb Alamgir, reign 1658-1707 AD by Saki Mustad Khan. He writes clearly that on Thursday, on 8th April 1669, occurred an eclipse, prayers were said and alms distributed as was the custom. The Lord Cherisher of the faith learned that in the province of Tata, Multan, and especially in Benares, the Brahmin misbelievers used to teach their books in established schools, and that admirers and students, both Hindu and Muslim, used to come from great distance to these misguided men in order to acquire this way learning. His Majesty, eager to establish Islam, issued orders to the governors of the province to demolish schools and temples in the infidels and with the utmost urgency put down the teaching and the public practices of the religion of these misbelievers. It was reported that according to Emperor's command, his officers had demolished the temple of Vishwanath at Kashi. This can be clearly seen in Masire-e-Alamgiri, a history of Emperor Aurangzeb Alamgir by Sakid Mustad Khan. It is believed that during this attack, the priest of Kashi Vishwanath temple immersed the shivlinga into the well located in the temple's premises, and each of these incidents is noted down by contemporary historians by the Mughal court. Instead of covering the entire Kashi Vishwanath temple with a mosque, only one mosque was erected on the significant part of temple precincts. The remains of the original temple can even be seen today. The well in which the Shivlinga was immersed was called the Well of Knowledge, that is Gyanvapi. The semi-demolished wall and the ruins of the temple can be clearly seen in the sketch by James Prinsep, an English Orientalist. Now, after demolition, Ramchandra Pant Amatya, the finance minister of Chhatrapati Shivaji, played a key role in keeping the Hindvi Swaraj safe from the tyrant Aurangzeb. Ramchandra Pant composed the Ajna Patra, a royal verdict on the principle of Maratha policy, where he mentioned Chhatrapati Shivaji's wish to free Kashi Vishwanath temple from the tyrant Mughals. At the same time, Peshwa Bajirao also had the same intentions. So on 27th January 1743, the Peshwa was at Prayag along with his army. Safdar Jung, the Nawab of Awadh, was well aware of Peshwa's plan to recapture Kashi. So he immediately called Narayan Dikshit Patankar and other eminent Brahmins of Kashi and threatened to convert them if the Peshwa was to take control of Kashi. The Brahmins, out of fear, requested the Peshwa to change his decision. In 1751, Malhar Rao Holkar, the famous Maratha Subedar of Malwa, tried to reclaim Kashi Vishwanath temple. Unfortunately, history again repeated and the Brahmins of Kashi, out of fear of Mughals, requested Malhar Rao to retreat. So in 1759, the Marathas once again tried to free Kashi along with Prayag. After some times, Peshwa also died and they could not take Kashi from them. Now came British rule. After the third battle of Panipat in 1761, the Mughal emperor handed over Kashi to the British ruler. It was not possible to rebuild the temple on its original site by demolishing mosque. So around the year 1785, Ahalya Bai Holkar ordered the reconstruction of the Kashi Vishwanath temple south of Gyanvapi. A new Shivlinga was installed. Later in the year, in 1789, Nana Padhanvis wrote a letter to Mahatji Shinde and asked him to take control of Kashi and ensure that no one causes harm or trouble to the holy temple of Kashi Vishwanath. Yet again, due to influence of Muslim aristocrats over the Kashi reign, the Marathas were unable to take it. Despite of all these difficulties, the Marathas contributed a lot in the development of holy town of Kashi. A few decades later, Ahalya Bai Holkar rebuilt it along with Manikarnika Ghat. She also built several temples, small and big, which were raised by Mughals in the past. This is the reality of Kashi Vishwanath temple and Gyanvapi mosque, which was raised thrice and converted into mosque by the Sultans of Delhi and Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. But all these are histories. Neither Hindu or Muslims of today have any fault. So what is the possible solution for it? To fight is not obviously the possible solution. It is better both the communities sit and talk to both of them. This can really bring the peace in the country as well as it will be good for both the communities. So at last, hope you loved the video and found it meaningful. And if yes, do not forget to give it a like, share and subscribe. Up to next, stay safe, healthy, happy and namaskaram.